The following story took place at a chess club. One day, an old man who had never been to the club before walked in and set up this position on one of the boards. He asked everyone in the room, do you think this position is a win for white, a draw, or a win for black? He mentioned that white's pawns were going forward and that it was currently black to play in this position. As people began to gather around and analyze the position, one young girl who had just started playing chess a few days ago raised her hand and said, I think it's a win for white because white has more pieces than black does. A few of the other players in the club laughed, and one boy in particular shouted out, You're wrong. Actually, black's going to win, and here's how. And he proceeded to demonstrate the following line. He said black's going to play queen to a2 check, white's going to block with the rook, queen to d2 check, white's going to block with the bishop, queen to g5 check, forcing white to push up the pawn, and then black's going to swing back to g2 and deliver the checkmate. Now, before the old man had a chance to respond, another boy who had been looking at his phone during all this said, Nope, you're both wrong. I just plugged it into the computer, and it says that after queen a2 in the original position, it is a draw. A few players in the club shook their head, disappointed that he had just spoiled the solution, and one of them shouted out, Okay, but how? At this point, one of the top players in the club spoke up and said, I agree with the boy. I think it is also a draw, but I can show you why. And he proceeded to demonstrate the following line. After queen to a2 check, white will block with the rook. Queen to d2 check, white will block with the bishop. Queen to g5 check, white will not push the pawn and lead to the checkmate, but block with the queen. After this, black will go down to d8 with check. White will block with the rook. Queen will come over to a8 check. White will push the pawn. Queen will go to a5 check. White will block not with the rook, because if you block with the rook, you end up going into this sort of perpetual back and forth, so you have to block with the bishop. Black will play queen to d2 check. Again, if you block with the bishop or the rook, the queen is simply going to swing over to one of these two squares, so you have to block with the queen. Black will play queen to g5 check. And now the pawn will go forward, and on queen to g2 check, white will block with the queen. And on queen to d2 check, it doesn't matter how white blocks. Regardless, black is always going to have a check and continue to put the white king in check, leading to, ultimately, a perpetual check. At this point, the strong club player leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and was feeling rather proud. Now, before I tell you how the old man responded, I want to go back to the beginning of the position and ask you guys, do you think the girl who said that white should win was correct? Do you think the boy who said that black should win was correct? Or do you think the cheater and the strong club player who said the game should be a draw was correct? Well, if you had a chance to pause and think through that yourself, let's go ahead and finish the story. At this point, the old man smiled and said rather cryptically, in chess, and sometimes also in life, things are not always as they seem. In fact, the only player who was correct was the young girl. This is indeed a win for white. And then he proceeded to demonstrate the following solution. Queen to a2 check. As you mentioned, rook c4 was correct. Queen to d2 check. Yes, bishop d4 check was played. Queen to g5. Yes, the queen would block. Queen to d8. Yes, the rook would block. Queen to a8. Yes, the pawn. Queen to a5. Yes, the bishop. Queen to d2 check. Yes, the queen blocks. Queen to g5. Yes, the pawn pushes forward. Queen to g2 check. Yes, the queen goes to e4. But on queen to d2 check, the correct move is not blocking with the bishop. It's not blocking with the rook. It's not blocking with the queen on d4. It's blocking with the queen on d3 with check. And yes, the queen is undefended, giving up the queen for free. The point is that it breaks the cycle of the perpetual check and gives white a way out. After bishop to d4, there's one more check here, a check here, a check here. But after rook to b5, queen to d3 check, you play king to b6. You've successfully escaped the checks. This pawn will eventually be escorted down with the king, and white just has too many pieces, ultimately overpowering the queen, just like the girl said at the very beginning. Hopefully this story inspires you not to look down on anyone, even if they are new or inexperienced at chess, or maybe even in other areas of life. Thank you guys for watching. Full disclaimer, I got the idea to tell stories like this from the channel Chess Talk. If you haven't checked out that YouTube channel, go check it out. He's got all kinds of good videos there. And so I just wanted to mention that's where this idea came from. Thank you guys. Let me know if you like this kind of video. And as always, stay sharp, play smart, and take care.